I am delighted to welcome to Marbella now for the very first time Dr. Parry. I know her quite well, but I don't know anything about her, so this is a great opportunity to find out more. Lovely to have you here, Berin. Thank you for coming.
So delighted to be here, really. I'm looking forward to this very much.
And also for me to have an opportunity to actually ask you questions. I have a terrible memory, so I don't ask anyone anything because I'm going to forget. But now I've got it on camera, so I'll be able to go back and have reference if I need to.
Yes.
Firstly, you are a doctor, but you're a doctor with a difference because you really are very into natural health and well-being. So yes. I'm really looking forward to just hearing you tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I was born in South Africa.
Nice.
Was a young mother and got into health and well-being at a very young age while I was still at university. And while I was there, I studied naturopathy and all the integral medicine concepts. And then when I moved to Europe, I continued into nutritional medicine. And then finally ended up with a PhD in natural medicine. But I also work in many different types of medicine, so integrative medicine, herbalism, but also embrace conventional medicine when it's necessary.
It's a fascinating combination because you normally have either natural doctors or normal doctors, but it's
yes.
lovely that you have the knowledge and ability to be able to know which one is the best prescription.
Exactly, because it's all about the diagnostics. So when you use science to get the right diagnostics, and conventional medicine gives you that with the blood tests and the DNA tests, then you get an actual diagnostic and you know what's going on. Then you can treat with the natural medicine when it's appropriate.
So give us some, for example, what kind of ailments would you opt for preferably with natural medicine as a first choice?
Well, the main ailments are things like gut health, because a lot of people have problems with their gut. Immunity, very, very important, because we want preventative medicine there. Weight loss is a big one as well, because you want to look at the natural ways to do that. And also hormonal health. Hormonal health is a big subject at the moment.
I know that when I went through the menopause, I didn't take anything because all the options that were offered to me were all chemical, and I just didn't want to risk it. I'm very delicate when it comes to anything, and I just
yes.
preferred to stay away from anything. But it would have been nice to have some natural
Exactly.
solutions.
Now they have bioidentical hormone therapy, which is what I specialize in, and that is all from natural sources.
So what's the difference? What would you suggest to people who've got menopause and they're going through that? How would you guide them through
Okay,
it?
number one is always diagnostics. Before we can provide a solution, we go for diagnostics. There's several really interesting tests. One of them is called the Dutch test, but also the blood test. Then we see what's happening with all the hormones first, how they're balancing with each other. There's so many important ones. Of course, there's estradiol and progesterone, but there's also pregnenolone, testosterone, DHEA, and so those all have to be in balance for us to feel really well. So we look at all that and then we prescribe the right natural solution.
What's the one that causes us to feel like we're cooking from the inside out?
Oh, that's a lack of estradiol.
Because that is something else.
Yes, yes, the hot flushes can be very debilitating.
It was quite surprising because I suppose I was 49. I'd come down, was living in Madrid, and I drove down to Malaga actually to give a conference to opticians. And when we were in the main room, it got to 2 o'clock, which I suppose was the time I'd booked the room for. And suddenly I was so hot and I went to reception. It's like, I know I booked the room till 2, but you didn't have to turn the air conditioning off. And they're like, we haven't touched anything. So that was my first hot flush. And actually driving down from Malaga, I was getting like heart palpitations, which I'd never had, which I then also realised after Googling
yes.
that these were the first signs of menopause.
Well, this is it. It can be very disconcerting. And so, but there's so many natural solutions now that can help with that. Also with lifestyle medicine, so with nutrition, how you move your body, and then also the natural medicines that can help on many levels.
I'm beginning to understand that actually what we eat is fundamental. And I don't think any of us, particularly of my era, have ever taken into consideration that you are what you eat, but that actually changing our diet can be fundamental, not just for menopause, but for many different diseases.
Exactly. So the functional medicine, which is what I practice, as well as the integrative medicine, advocates that first we need to look at nutrition before we do anything else, because we're doing that 3 to 5 times a day. So we need to get that right, and then we can look at everything else. So nutrition, anti-inflammatory nutrition is the really important thing.
What's the worst things that we eat without realising?
The worst of the worst is sugar.
And that's in a lot of things that we don't even know.
Exactly. And also there's sweet fruits. So fruit is supposed to be good for us, and it is. But if we eat too much sweet fruit, then we have too much fructose in our system, too much glucose, and that can be a problem, especially if you're pre-diabetic.
It's amazing, isn't it? As I say, we wouldn't think, like, you have sugar in sliced bread, for example. That would never occur to me. It
Exactly.
taste sweet.
Yeah, so all the carbohydrates convert into sugar really quickly. So that, again, when you are pre-diabetic or if you're trying to have a low sugar diet, you need to go with the protein and the vegetables and not go with the breads and the white potatoes and that type of carbohydrate, because that's a bit of a disaster, to be honest.
And what would you, just if anyone's watching with menopause, what would you say? Listen, just go and eat a lot of, I know you're big on the keto restaurant, Keto Royal. Is that also for health reasons, because that type of diet is actually better for us?
Yes, because the most important thing in our health is 2 hormones. One of them is insulin, and the other one is cortisol. So insulin is what controls the blood sugar, and that will have an influence on how well you go through menopause, how much weight you have, how much energy you have, your mood, everything. So first thing we do is we fix the insulin issue, and then cortisol is about stress, how you manage stress. If your cortisol is too high, that causes inflammation, and then everything's out of balance as well. So the way that I practice is to manage those 2 aspects first of one's health, and then we look at everything else and how that fits in.
It sounds like everybody should come and see you and just get tested so you can tell us. For example, I'm thinking about, I have a lot of stress, a lot of this, a lot of that. So really knowing what to eat under normal circumstances or what not to eat is far more important than we give it credit for.
That's right, and we all have the intelligence to understand it. We just need somebody to explain it. And we need to go through the diagnostic tests, because then we know, and knowledge is power.
Undeniably. You mentioned diabetes before, so obviously all of this with the insulin. My dad had diabetes and my uncle, and it was funny because my uncle never ate the wrong things. He didn't live on bacon sandwiches, which my father loved.
Yes.
He wasn't overweight, which my father was, and yet both of them at 74 years old passed away, unfortunately, but both of them had limbs amputated, and that really, I couldn't understand it, because my dad ate wrong and did everything wrong, was overweight, but my uncle didn't, and yet they both had exactly the same things and the same stages at the same age.
So what it is, it's called hidden insulin resistance. So that's why I'm so big on the blood sugar management, because a lot of us don't even realize that our insulin is not behaving as it should. And even if you do a blood test, the glucose looks normal, but there's an insulin resistant issue going on, and that is causing inflammation and causing ill health. So when we go and we discover, is there some hidden insulin resistance, that really gets to the key of managing our health.
And can make a difference, obviously.
A huge difference, because then we can say, right, you have to be very strict on the low sugar. There's lots of natural medicines you can do to help manage your blood sugar as well, which is wonderful, because then you're getting assistance at the same time, because sometimes, as you said, you can eat the right diet, but the insulin resistance is still there, because maybe it's come from stress. So then, if you're taking some natural medicines that really help, could be Ayurvedic medicines, herbal medicines, it's very important to have the right natural medicine as well. It's just like normal medicines.
You're saying all these words, Ayurvedic, herbal, but they all sound the same thing to me. What's the difference between an Ayurvedic, for example, to herbal?
So Ayurvedic is something that comes originally from India, and Ayurvedic medicine is actually even older than Chinese medicine. So they've studied in great depth how the different herbs can help. And they use body types, whereas herbal medicine's more direct. That's more Western type of medicine, where you're looking at the actual herb, and then what's most important is that there are medical studies proving the efficacy of the herbs. So we only work where there are medical studies proving everything, because it's no use to second guess whether or not this natural medicine's the right one. We want a medical study proving it, and so we only work with that.
And that's, I think, the benefit with you having both sides of the coin, with the actual standard medicine and the traditional, as opposed to the others, that you really do understand the difference and always getting that scientific proof of the results of using one thing or the other.
Exactly, because then everybody understands, they feel a lot safer and more comfortable, and we have more success because we're actually getting to the root of the problem.
There's a lot of studying involved in your career.
It is, yes. 14 years. It took 7 years of study and then 7 years internship with a medical doctor and a functional medicine doctor. So it does. It takes even longer than a normal medical doctor.
Did you always know you wanted to be a doctor?
I did. It took me a while to get there. I only started my major studies when I was age 40 because I realized that my health was not what it should be. And then that motivated me to do that.
Well, you look absolutely amazing. So whatever you're doing personally works wonders.
Thank you, just like you are.
Thank you. And I'm sure I could do a lot better with a little bit of guidance, which I definitely think we need to book in a session with you, at least to do some studies and find out, because why not make the most of what we've got and be the best that we can. If people want to come and see you, do you have places in Marbella, or do you do it private? How does it work?
Yes, I have my main consultancy in Gibraltar, but then I also work together with some of the hospitals and clinics here. So Boris Hospital in San Pedro, I'm there quite a lot. I also work at various clinics along the coast, just as a visiting consultant. And then people can see me in Gibraltar. I also work, half of my practice is international online. I work with the USA, with a lot with Northern Europe. So it's very interesting getting a wonderful blend of people from all over the world.
And I know that we have to finish up now, but you're also starting a podcast. So I suppose the idea is to be able to share as much information with as many people as possible so they understand what's going on with their bodies and how they can help themselves in great part too.
Well, that's right. That's what motivated me to write the books, because when you're writing books, you're really giving back to the community. You're helping them to understand, and that's been a great way of feeling that I'm able to be of assistance.
So how many books have you written?
Oh, quite a lot. If you go on Amazon, I think there's about 42.
My word.
But you know, we have the latest ones are about ageless. We've got one that's about ageless cure. So just looking at the hormones. Another one about immunity. So whatever people are looking for, there's a book there that'll fit in with lots of recipes as well.
Well, congratulations. Absolutely delighted to know you, even before I knew about you. Very, very social, very, very sweet. You're a very sweet person.
Oh, that's kind.
And you're very kind and loving, and it's lovely that you also then have all this knowledge and certified medical experience. And
yes.
Dr. Parry, lovely. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I'm sure this will be the first of many.